Hi. For months, the Daily Wire has been advertising its Daily Wire Plus streaming service all over the internet. Mainly ads for their new movie, Lady Ballers.
In a world where women's sports is being transformed, the Daily Wire calls foul with the most triggering comedy of the year.
Lady Ballers is a movie about a team of basketball players who pretend to be trans women in order to win easily at women's sports. If you don't already know, this movie isn't exactly original. It's based on the hypothetical concept that conservatives have invented and used as a talking point against trans acceptance. Because what if they're too good at sports? Has anyone ever thought about that? This is the modern conservative struggle. These are their woes. I say that jokingly, but it's true. This is a movie about one of the primary grievances that conservatives have had for the last few years. It's grievance politics, and there are no shortage of videos about trans women in women's sports. Actually, far more videos about that than there are actual notable trans athletes in the world. According to Wikipedia, there are 13 notable trans men athletes, 26 notable trans women athletes, and 6 non-binary. Hold on, guys. They have a non-binary wheelchair racer. Stop the fucking presses. Matt Walsh is gonna have to get involved in this. I'm gonna need a CNN panel with different opinions on this. Should we condone this person's existence? That's a normal question to ask in a rational society. It's really sad that the Daily Wire makes movies at all if you think about it, because not an insignificant amount of Daily Wire founders and employees are failed Hollywood actors and writers. My theory is that it's all of them, and you can tell by how hard they're acting in this movie.
Technical, and you shut the f up, transphobic motherfucker.
Oh. They censored their own movie. You don't have to do that. They censored their own movie.
He had to force the word transphobic out of his mouth.
Transphobic motherfucker.
They really want it, but they don't have it. They're trying so hard because you can tell that this is what they've always wanted to do, and it's so embarrassing that it's this.
Whoa! All right. Don't push me off my land, white man.
The ads for Lady Ballers have been everywhere. They must have really wanted people to see this movie. It must be so good, because if there's anything this group of individuals understands, it's comedy, and trans people, and sports. Lady Ballers is less of a movie and more of a marketing stunt. They didn't make it for any other reason other than to say they made a movie about the trans basketball players that exist. There are so many. Lady Ballers is being called the decade's most triggering comedy by the people that made it. Who else would even say that? And of course, at first glance, you see the movie, transphobic basketball movie. That's what it's kind of marketed as, but it's also all they needed to start writing the script. It's the whole concept of the movie. But it's not just transphobic. In my opinion, it's written from the perspective of someone who scrolls on Twitter all day and doesn't actually go outside. And you can tell because the movie is really angry at things that don't really matter. Every bit of comedy in this movie comes from a place of fear or poor understanding. By the end of the movie, it's clear that these jokes don't come from witty observations, but rather a seething series of shower arguments. These people don't engage with the people that they hate. And so they can only make jokes from their limited perspective. And that perspective isn't reality. It might be reality for someone like Ben Shapiro or Jeremy Boring, millionaires who sit inside all day posting, but they still don't know anything about trans people. There are jokes to make about trans people. There are memes within queer spaces, within trans spaces. Trans people are genuinely some of the edgiest posters on the internet, but the jokes in the movie aren't about trans people. They're written with the intent to hurt trans people, or at least public perception of them. This isn't a movie to make people laugh, it's a movie to reinforce the worldview of the writer, especially because it's focused on their own personal petty grievances with liberals in media. It's messaging, not comedy, which is why it's only funny when you get and accept that messaging. It's a little like being in a cult. You're in on this kind of inside joke that we have. It's using slurs. So just keep all of that in mind going forward. And now it's movie time, everyone. I'm rolling in the little cart with the TV on it so you guys can all see the movie today. Lady Ballers is a movie about a washed up team of former basketball players that join a women's basketball league pretending to be trans women when all they did was throw on a wig. But because of the world and how crazy it is now, everyone just accepts them and supports them for being transgender. The movie opens with a creepy de-aged Jeremy Boring that I see in my nightmares to this day, and he's coaching the team, whatever they were called before they were the Lady Ballers, before they stopped playing basketball. I don't know, I guess. I was more focused on the creepy, horrible Jeremy Boring. The movie quickly cuts to modern day where Jeremy Boring is working at a rec center. This doesn't last long though, because he told a group of teenagers not to steal the catalytic converter off of his car.
Nothing? No. All right. Good talk, boys. Please don't steal my catalytic converter again on your way out.
Yo, you can't talk to us like that.
You're right, Kevin. I'm sorry.
And of course, as we know, in this modern, crazy, liberal world, that's what gets you fired. That happens to the best of us.
You can't tell a bunch of teenage boys not to steal.
Yes, you can, Gary. It's one of the most important things you should be teaching them. It's literally in the Bible.
Which you also can't teach them. You're 86 from the rec center, pal.
Buddy, come on. You know I need this job.
Yeah, this is something that has never happened ever. This movie takes place in Nashville, Tennessee, by the way, which makes them seem more out of touch when they act like it's fucking San Francisco. This movie is like what I think conservatives think would happen if they actually went outside and interacted with everyday people. Like, Jeremy Boring has never been to a fucking rec center other than to film this movie. Boring picks up his little daughter from school and her teacher's wearing a mask.
What's that?
This is the fourth time.
It's the obedience trap, lady. I can't hear anything through it.
This is the fourth time.
You gotta speak up.
This is the fourth time.
See, there you go. You're a beautiful woman. It's a beautiful day. Maybe a little concealer next time.
She's wearing so many masks. Jeremy Boring can't even hear her over his loud car and the masks too. It's so funny. In 2024, people are definitely still wearing masks in fucking Nashville, Tennessee. Thank God, finally some commentary on our crazy modern times.
And Mary Margaret showed me her penis.
Normal thing to write in your movie.
Some boy showed you his penis?
What? No, not a boy, Daddy. Gross. Mary Margaret, she's a girl.
Girls don't have penises, Winnie.
Mary Margaret does. Penises are weird.
Can we stop saying penis, please? Where did this happen, anyway?
In the bathroom?
Well, why are they letting boys in the girls' bathroom?
Why do you keep misgendering Mary Margaret?
Misgendering? What are you talking about?
It's very transphobic of you.
Oh, there it is. My little daughter called me a transphobe again.
How do you know the word transphobic?
I'm 8 years old.
Exactly, you're 8 years old.
Okay, boomer.
Remember OK Boomer? The movie is written like the Fred movies. That's an insult to the Fred movies. Boring drops off his daughter at his ex-wife's house, revealing that he's being cucked by Matt Walsh, who's playing an ally in this picture. Boring's character had to both be divorced and a cuck to be relatable to the Daily Wire's target audience. How embarrassing. You can tell they're stupid liberals. They have a sign that says woke in front of their house. It's not really satire if you're talking about things that no one does or has. Boring goes to get another job at the old CD store he used to work at, but now it's been turned into a drag restaurant. A log cabin drag restaurant. Does it exist? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. Boring meets up with one of the players he used to coach, Alex, who works at the drag bar. He's a struggling actor in Nashville for fucking some reason, and he said he couldn't make it in Hollywood because they don't want any more white male actors.
Either way, turns out white male of non-exotic sexuality is the only ethnic group not being cast by Hollywood these days.
Yeah, that's just not true at all. I don't really even know how you can say that. They also mention how they're making Snow White black and neurodivergent now.
I hear Disney's gonna make the new Snow White a neurodivergent lesbian.
Neurodivergent black lesbian.
Which no one is doing. These guys are making Snow White an annoying, frigid cracker, and I don't fucking complain about it. Yeah, you know, I'm meeting up my old buddy at the bar. Hey, you ever hear about Snow White? You know what they're doing to her now? Jeremy Boring then takes advantage of the fact that he's filming a movie that he wrote, and he can do whatever he wants.
Really makes you think about how you treat women. Thanks, babe.
Commentary, it's a joke, it's satire. Boring convinces Alex to pose as a trans woman and enter into a local race. I don't think they say what kind of race it is, because I think the people that wrote this movie don't watch sports. And obviously, because Alex is a man, he beats all the women so easily. And because the world is so crazy now, Alex is instantly covered by the news.
Alex Cruz, a brave and beautiful trans woman, has taken gold in the female competition, winning in every single event by wide margins.
He even gets a Bud Light sponsorship just for winning this race, whatever it was.
What is that?
Bud Light. I'm sponsored now.
Oh, buddy. They'll give that shit to any dude in a dress.
You guys get it? Alex got sponsored by Bud Light, which is a reference to Dylan Mulvaney, and if you can believe it, it's not the only one in the movie. Dylan Mulvaney, though, is not a she's not an athlete. She's just a regular influencer. At that point, it's just reference humor. Guys, look, woke beer! I know that from the news. Because the world is so crazy now is not only a really convenient excuse for things that happen in the movie, but also a convenient excuse for the ideology that the movie continues to reinforce. But this logic is never actually used in a situation that has ever happened in real life. It's not an analogy because there's no analog, you know what I mean? A trans woman has never broken a record in an unnamed race, only to then be covered opportunistically by left-wing journalists and gained a bunch of fame and notoriety. I mean, if you really want to get technical about it, that's not even really happening in this movie either. Alex isn't pretending to be a trans woman. Alex is just pretending to be a woman. I mean, the same goes for all the Lady Ballers. They just wrote all the characters to act like women.
Day one of being a girl athlete, I've already eaten a whole pint of pistachio ice cream, given up on parallel parking twice, reread Sense and Sensibility, and started washing down benzodiazepines with rosé.
Which, yeah, trans women are, so slay, I guess. I think it speaks to a lack of self-awareness. I don't know. But it's weird that this movie is about disproportionate coverage and praise given to trans women in sports, only to completely ignore the disproportionate criticism that trans people inherently receive whenever attention is drawn to them, especially from outlets that do actually cover stories like this in mainstream media. Fox News, The Daily Wire, Newsmax. It's like right-wing media doesn't even exist in this universe. Probably because the existence of their own ideology and organization in their own movie's universe would sort of defeat the entire purpose and message of the movie. This movie keeps making fun of trans people for being seen as brave while conveniently ignoring the fact that they are the reason trans people have things to be brave against. No one calls the Lady Ballers any slurs or threatens to kill their family in this movie. So I'm gonna have to give it a 0 on the realism side. I think it's just really funny to have to omit your own existence when trying to make a point, and that's the funniest part of the movie. Speaking of journalism, the journalist character in the movie, who's evil, starts covering the Lady Ballers because she's trying to gain power.
Soon, all the best women will be men. Cheating, lowlife men. Like you.
You want us to compete as women?
Think of the sponsorships. Think of the fame.
People will hate us.
People will love you.
How do you know?
Because I'm going to tell them to. That's the deal.
She's trying to use these stories to advance her personal agenda and grift off the fact that trans people exist. But she's covering how brave they are. I mean, that's the kind of story that gets clicks. A normal, wholesome sports story about a trans athlete winning a race. These guys know how the media works. They know that this is not the case. They know the actual way to grift off of trans people is to do what they do. The way to grift off trans people is to make this movie. It's meta. It's like a meta narrative. This is like Tenet.
The only story here for which I fully intend to win a Pulitzer is that absolutely nothing out of the ordinary happened here tonight. And we should all celebrate the brave, beautiful woman who did it.
I don't know if they did any research for this movie. Not that it matters. It doesn't matter. No one cares. No journalist has ever won a Pulitzer for covering a story about trans people or about one trans person in particular, ever. Just ever. See what I mean by shower arguments? It doesn't matter. They can just say that. It's harder to fact check than it actually matters to people, so whatever, just lie. It's fine. It's realistic because the world is so crazy now. Because this movie is made by horrible sex perverts, the evil journalist lady is horny for Jeremy Boring.
You're going home with me. You're a winner now. Every woman wants a winner.
You literally just called me a cheating lowlife.
One. Now put your tongue down my throat.
She is 20 years younger than him. This actress is some random, like, red pill influencer.
We shamed cigarettes for years. It was disgusting if somebody smoked cigarettes. We socially ostracized it, and now nobody really smokes cigarettes. We should do the same with sex workers.
What happened to the word
we should
gay?
We should
We
should do the same things to sex workers because they're destroying society.
And you can tell, hey, Jeremy Boring, why did you get a real actress to play your ex-wife who doesn't lick you, but you didn't get a real actress to play the woman who does lick you? Instead, you got a 24-year-old Instagram influencer. Why did you do that? The actress who played his ex-wife was in Ted 2. You can't compete with that. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't afford a real actor to play this character. You know, they didn't pay her very much for this. This humiliating trash.
Put a baby in me.
What?
No, you're right. The last thing I need is another abortion this year.
You're a monster.
It's hard to believe these people weren't taken seriously in Hollywood. So Alex and Jeremy Boring go to recruit the rest of the members of the old team, and there's a literal Jeremy's Razors ad in the middle of the movie.
My man, looking smooth. Man, you guys weren't kidding. These Jeremy's Razors are amazing.
At first, I thought this was like some epic joke because it's so funny. But then I was thinking that this scene, along with a lot of other scenes in the movie, could very easily be cut out and the movie wouldn't change. That is what, folks, we refer to as filler, because movies have to be a certain length to be considered feature length, or for tax purposes. They get the team together with the idea to join the women's basketball league. I guess the local one? I don't know. They don't say. The sports movie where they don't talk about the sports that they're playing in it. Probably because they know too much about basketball that they just can't bore you with that. Gotta focus on the humping badger joke. How did Jeremy Boring have this little Aryan child with this woman? That's a deliberate choice. Jeremy Boring was looking for something very specific and he got what he wanted. Jeremy Boring's little Aryan daughter explains to everyone what she learns in school. All the woke stuff. Jeremy Boring is not an active role in her life. He only has supervised visits on the weekends. That's why he doesn't know any of this.
Any questions?
Yeah, Coach, what is a woman?
Oh, what is a woman? What is a woman? He said it. So the Lady Ballers have their first women's basketball game.
It's ladies basketball, boys. Nobody watches.
And the main joke of the movie reveals itself. Even lowly, washed-up basketball players and a former towel boy who was never a player could easily beat professional women if they even try a little bit. That's classic. That's how bad women are. They are worse than a man at his worst. Because a man at his worst is still sexy. I mean, there aren't any female athlete characters in the movie, by the way, as much as the movie is about women's sports. The only female athlete with lines of dialogue with the main characters is impregnated by two of them.
Who's the father?
Both of you.
I don't know if they do these tropes to be like edgy or they think it's funny, or if they really just don't know what else to do when writing a woman character. Like, I don't think these are tropes people do on purpose. I think they're just stupid. And even if it was to trigger people, it's like, oh man, the same thing I've seen in every sleazy 80s B movie 1,000,000 times over.
Hey, I've only known you for 10 minutes.
Anyway, little towel boy who's never even played basketball could actually beat these professional athletes because it's funny. Journalist lady posts a video of the Lady Ballers dominating a basketball game, and it goes so viral that the stadium fills up while the game is going on. All of these like social media comments are written by fucking aliens. These people have no perspective on how trans people are seen online.
Have you seen the reaction on social? We're heroes.
Have you seen the reaction on social? Isn't that your guys' like job? You think they'd be able to write it a little more naturally? So everyone just shows up to the basketball game because of the reaction on social, and everyone is so hyped to see a completely one-sided, unfair basketball game that ends in 98-17. The journalist lady wants the Lady Ballers to compete in every women's sport so she can keep covering them exclusively.
No way. I just got sponsored by Maybelline.
Nike wants me to be in a commercial about tolerance or some crap.
Nike wants me to be in a commercial about tolerance or some crap.
And that's just from one game of basketball. You could win at any sport. You could win at every sport.
Because if there's anything sports fans love, it's one guy that can never be defeated in anything like a fucking shonen anime. They do a bunch of these shots where the Lady Ballers are dunking on women basketball players and hitting them in the face with their junk. Kind of a pervert moment, just a scene for perverts, all the perverts out there. Every time I think about the plot of this movie, even a little bit, I'm like, okay, but they're not trans though. They're not. They're just cross-dressing. They're in fucking disguise. Conservatives don't know that there's a difference between that and trans people, and they think they're being really smart with this. There's literally never been a trans team of anything, and this movie wants to convince us that a trans basketball team, a trans woman's basketball team, would be taken seriously and accepted in modern society. Because they think you're stupid. Now one of the Lady Ballers is on a Little League girls team, weirdly raising more questions now. Does it have to be a girls' little league team? They're still just kids. You think it wouldn't matter. Kind of losing the plot a little bit, but at least it's funny.
Day 3 of being a girl athlete, I already have 2 million followers! Like and subscribe, bitch.
The joke is, if trans women were athletes, they would go viral. Please laugh. Boring's ex-wife confronts him and says that it's wrong for these men to belittle trans experience and misrepresent their struggle for their own personal agenda. Just kidding. She says it's wrong what you're doing to these poor women's sports teams.
You have to stop, Rob.
Stop what?
The Crane boys, really?
What about him?
They barely even bother to shave their legs.
My former lover, the turf.
Oh, please.
Look, I don't know what to tell you. My girls say they're girls, so they're girls.
But they don't even believe it. Except maybe Alex. That kid isn't well.
The moral of the story, guys, is that being trans is like cheating to win, implying that being trans would make everything in your life easier, but it's not worth it because it's not the right thing to do. The writer of this movie should transition themselves into the office of a therapist, right into that little chair.
Excuse me, are these seats open?
Hey, Ted Cruz is in the movie. I know him. All the influence starts going to the Lady Ballers' heads, and they have a fight in the middle of the game. The one that they're playing. They don't ever say what the games mean, or they still win because they are on God mode, as all trans people are.
It wasn't a pretty win, but it was a win. My girls look forward to participating in the championship game tomorrow. That's it.
The fact that they still win, even though it's the low point of the movie, is kind of funny by juxtaposition, but I don't know if it's on purpose because it's not played off like a joke. These guys know what a joke is? The movie doesn't tell me that. Boring's daughter comes up to him and tells him that she wants to be a boy because boys are better at everything.
I want to be a boy.
What?
I want to be a winner just like you, Daddy.
What's that have to do with being a boy?
Boys are better at everything.
Oh, honey. That's just not true.
Which, high-key, this movie is saying.
Women are better at all kinds of things. They can be nurturing and sensitive and empathetic.
Women are good at all kinds of stuff, like awesome, sweet, nurturing, godly. And I mean, that's a powerful message if I've ever seen one. Know your place, little girl. You don't get a say in your own life. All I can think about right now is how you're gonna get pregnant one day. I don't even like saying that. Jeremy Boring goes home and is confronted by the evil journalist lady who threatens to cancel him if he stops coaching the Lady Ballers because she's trying to get the biggest story in sports. To give you an idea of what the stakes are in this movie. So for no reason, in the middle of their conversation, she starts talking about how much worse off Jeremy Boring's daughter is gonna be because her parents are divorced.
Of course, your divorce is affecting your daughter. 70% of all people in prison come from broken families. She's twice as likely to do drugs, twice as likely to drop out of school, 4 times as likely to have trouble fitting in, 3 times as likely to end up in therapy, twice as likely to commit suicide, 50% more likely to have health problems.
She just has these statistics memorized, I guess. The function of this character in this movie is supposed to simultaneously be a caricature of liberal media and also a mouthpiece for right-wing talking points. She just fucking anamorphs into Dennis Prager for a second. Now we're on the final basketball game of the movie. I don't know what the significance is or what it is, but it is the last one that happens in the movie, so of course it's the most important one. I don't know why these people weren't taken seriously in Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen and in-betweens, from Nashville, Tennessee, the Lady
Yeah, I've been to a sports event in Nashville, Tennessee, and they don't say he, she's, and in-betweens or whatever the fuck. Ladies and gentlemen and in-betweens? You know where says that? Nowhere. Fucking nowhere. Jeremy Boring would know that, though. The evil journalist lady has actually revealed another team of fake trans women to beat the Lady Ballers. It is not lost on me that they are the only black men in the movie. The unbeatable basketball team they are.
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again on your way out.
Yo, you can't talk to us like that.
You're right, Kevin. I'm sorry. Hey, buddy, you dropped your cordless reciprocating saw.
Lady Ballers lose. Alex comes out to Boring at the end of the movie to reveal that she's actually a trans woman.
I am a woman. I mean, all those years playing basketball, I never really felt like myself. A decade in Hollywood trying to figure out who I really was, and then I started working at the dollhouse, and this is the real me, coach. This is who I am. proud of myself for the first time.
And Boring finally gets to say the argument he's been practicing in the shower for years.
But you gotta believe me when I tell you this. You are not a woman. You're just a lost man in a lost world with shitty parents and a real shitty coach. We've all gone along with this lie instead of just hurting your feelings and telling you the truth.
He wants to say this to a real trans person so fucking badly, he's never met one. He has no idea. He has no idea how stupid he sounds. He doesn't know. And then he hits him in the balls, because that's how you know he's a man. Boring sees the error of his ways and gets a little league basketball team to compete against the fake trans women. It just becomes like a wholesome game, I guess. But then they lose later.
Ultimately, the little girls were trounced. Final score, 418 to 6.
The movie literally doesn't give a shit about anything. I like this solution because, you know, it shows that the only thing better to a conservative than a woman is a little girl. The Lady Ballers end the movie by opening up a youth sports center for their local community. And just knowing how many conservatives are there, I'm sure it's not a threat to children at all. Matt Walsh and Candace Owens are in the post-credits scene trying really hard.
Another Sweet Daddy Walsh adventure comes to a satisfying conclusion.
What are you talking about? I don't understand how anything you did helped to make this situation better.
Don't you?
No chemistry. I think Matt Walsh is so racist, he can't do this. You won't even look at it. And then there's a second post-credit scene where Alex is in therapy with the man himself, Jordan Peterson. There he is. He doesn't have any lines because they didn't want to pay him that much. Alex is addressing his gender dysphoria and Jordan Peterson is just so confused. Conservatives love to call being trans a mental illness, but this movie shows that even the psychologists in the right-wing circle think you're fucking crazy and stupid. Anyway, the movie's over now. Thank God. So Lady Ballers pretends to care about a lot of things. Women's sports, the mental health of people questioning their gender identity. But this movie only cares to the point of getting like upset and pissy about it, not actually caring in a sympathetic way. For as much as conservatives love to point out modern issues and talk about how crazy the world is now, their solutions just tend to be the same things they've been saying since 2003. Oh, you think the nuclear family is gonna solve this? I don't even know how you didn't think about that before. Conservatives create these problems and obviously have no solutions for them because the goal of the problems is not to create solutions, it's to create discourse that they can profit off of. Their ideology is based on fear. Transphobia is a genuine fear. It's not the fear of trans people, it's the fear of the repercussions of allowing trans people to exist. They don't want to talk to or engage with people they actually disagree with, they want to authoritatively tell them how to be from a distance. Another thing this movie likes to pretend to care about is journalism, conveniently ignoring the fact that they are journalists by their own definition. I prefer the word con men, but that's, you know, a matter of taste, dialect, depends on where you're from. But the movie speaks to the opportunistic nature of covering stories revolving around trans people. Problem is, the opportunisticness of it doesn't come from being a liberal or a leftist, it comes from being a right-winger and creating fear-mongering out of that story. This movie doesn't want you to listen to elitist media shills who only tell you what you want to hear or only give you half-truths just to make the most amount of profit off of it, to advance themselves the most. They want you to listen to Matt Walsh instead.
So I wanted to talk to you about parenting.
So, another drop settles in the endless swell of conservative content that they insist is groundbreaking and edgy, but is somehow worse than videos with 10 views on YouTube. Will anyone remember this movie after a year? Or is it yet another lost bet on the hope that people will see movies that suck made by people who don't make movies? I'll let you decide. This video is like an interactive experience. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like if you had a good time or subscribe and watch another video at the same time. And let me know what you thought of the Lady Ballers. Do you want me to cover any other Daily Wire movies? I don't want to. And thanks again for watching. Bye.
Gonna show y'all the plug. She'll pop your collar twice. They gon' mind your mid now kick with. Follow the MC.